Hello viewers, it's George from Ireland here, and you might think I'm unaccountably wearing this curious cap. What's the design on it? What's the KZ? That's for Kazakhstan. Websites from Kazakhstan have KZ as their denomination, if that's the right thing. The two letters that identify the country. Right, so I'm going to tell you a bit about expatriate life in Astana, where I lived. So I'll give you 10 or so pieces of advice, useful pieces of information. So number one, Astana is the capital city of Kazakhstan. Notice that you put the stress on the last syllable of Astana. It means capital in the Kazakh language. Formerly Akmola or Tselinograd. It's in the very north of the country. So it's not a big city, but because it's the capital, it's got good transport links, as in direct flights to quite a few major cities in the region, as far as London, for example. Right, number two, it's an easy to get around city, so that makes it convenient for expatriates. Only 500,000 people live there. It's projected to expand to 800,000, though personally I think it'll be a long time before that happens. Buildings are far apart. It's very spaced out in that way, so it doesn't feel cramped. It's a very spacious country, 9th largest country in the world in terms of territory, so they can afford to have open space and plenty of parks. The one thing about buildings being far apart is it helps you to see things. That's why it's easy to find your way around. Buildings are not obscured by each other. There are a few landmarks to navigate by, the few skyscrapers around. The Sevornaya Siane, the Northern Lights buildings, Abu Dhabi Plaza there, soon to be completed, the tallest building in Central Asia. The river Ishim bisects the city. It meanders a lot. Now, you can navigate by that, but because it snakes around, it can get a little confusing. There are only 4 bridges in the city, and in a way that makes it easy to find your way around. It's a very flat city, which also means that buildings are not blocked out by hills. There's only one hill, really, and that's where the Pyramid Concert Hall is. So, yeah, that's it. You won't get lost there. Number 3, it's very affordable for expatriates who tend to be in high-paid occupations, although there are some expatriates in construction, and those workers not quite so handsomely remunerated. The average Kazakh salary, well, that'd be $300. I probably exaggerate. So if you wish to hire people for you to work for you as childminders, to teach you Russian or Kazakh, or cleaners and things like that, you'll find it very affordable. Generally speaking, yeah, the cost of living is pretty low. It's maybe a third of what it would be in a Western country, depending on what you're buying, like local food, things like that. Number 4, it is very cold, so you want to dress for almost Arctic temperatures. It's minus 30 some days. Now, it's a very continental climate because it's so far from the sea. There's no sea as a moderating influence, and therefore, obviously, it's very hot in the summer. And I've never seen a place so transformed by the season. These lush meadows come out, and the place is filled with flowers, and the trees are obviously verdant that time of year, but otherwise it's as dead and hushed by thick snow as can possibly be in midwinter. It's the second coldest capital in the world, after Ulaanbaatar. So number 5, official languages are Kazakh and Russian, though Russian is spoken much more in Astana. Only about 60% of the population of the city are ethnic Kazakhs, and many indigenous Kazakhs speak Russian as their home language. There are a few signs up in English. A few people will speak English, especially downtown, in 5-star hotels, in the better shops or restaurants, but the man on the street don't count on it. It helps to have just a few pleasantries in Russian. Number 6, there are some good restaurants serving French, Italian cuisine, Chinese, Indian, and so on. Prices are quite reasonable compared to a Western country. Imported wine is pricey. There's a hefty tax on that. There is some excellent local wine. Arbor Wine Store is a great place to try some. Incidentally, it's a nominally Muslim country, but it is not a Shariat state. So alcohol is legally available everywhere. There's no compulsory Ramadan or anything. There are plenty of things, nightclubs, if you're into that sort of thing, and women would feel completely comfortable dressing quite glamorously, quite in a racy style if they want. They won't get a hard time about that. Number 7, there are plenty of activities to do. Riding, golf, going to Khan Shatir, which is a huge leisure complex stroke shopping centre. There are like rides in there, how to describe them, not quite roller coasters, more tame version of that. There's a beach inside Khan Shatir, and it's quite astonishing to be there when it's about 40 degrees inside there and minus 30 outside. There's a beach by the river in summertime. Obviously, you can use it in the winter if you don't mind dying of hypothermia. River cruises in the summer. There's an aquarium, circus. There are public bikes to hire if you want to cycle around. Being such a flat city, it's very suitable for cycling. There are plenty of stadia to see football matches and so on. There's a professional basketball team which has most of its players from the United States, 7 foot tall. Anything else? So yeah, sports going on. They're quite into manly sports like weightlifting or wrestling, things of that nature. Number 8, transport. Well, it's very easy to drive around because, as I say, the streets are broad. There are not many traffic jams. There are plenty of places to park. You know, people don't drive dangerously very much. The traffic police would hardly ever stop you. Petrol is very affordable, and yeah, easy to navigate the city. As for taxis, there are plenty of taxis, legal and not. You put up your hand on any street and a private car will stop and you can negotiate your fare. Awful lot easier if you can speak Russian, not only from the point of view of being understood, but also not being allowed to the slaughter. But even if they rip you off, it's really not that much. And I've never heard anyone being robbed by a taxi driver or having a bad experience like that. I've just used private cars as taxis a lot. Yeah, buses go everywhere. So the buses, they're just ridiculously cheap. If I was trying to translate it into US dollars, it'd be like 50 cents to go all the way. It doesn't matter if you're going one stop, but at the very end of the line, it's always the same price. There's no underground railway or tram or anything. There are long-distance trains to other cities, which again are very affordable and comfortable, though slow. Bus for long-distance transport is a bit better. Number 9, there are plenty of international schools there. There's Halebury, there's a QSI one, there's a Turkish one, it teaches in English a bit. I'm trying to remember the other one. Anyway, there are at least 4 English-speaking schools. There's Nazarbayev University, which has a lot of foreign lecturers. Let me see. So number 10, things you should try. The local cuisine, horse meat, because there were nomads, horses, milk, kumuz. Personally, I find it loathsome, too salty. Kazakh cuisine, if you haven't experienced it, is something like Turkish cooking with a bit of a Russian accent to it as well. And of course, it's somewhat sui generis. Number 11, there are plenty of hotels if you're staying in a hotel initially or having guests out. The trouble is they tend to be either 5-star or 1-star without much in between. And the 5-star ones, well, they're as expensive as you would expect in another wealthier part of the world. Hotel Duman is a pretty good one, halfway in between. The odd thing there is, even if you're a guest in the hotel, you have to pay extra to use their gym and pool. Let me see. If you want to socialise, there's an organisation called Internations, and the idea is that half the people go are Kazakhs and half are foreigners, and then we mix, and the foreigners who go can mostly speak Russian, and the Kazakhs who can go mostly speak English. So it's a great way to make friends with like-minded people who are outgoing, and they're a very international set. So that's it. I found it very agreeable living in Astana. I might well go back. Oh, the Opera House. Forgot to mention that's the most splendid thing about Astana. A marvellous, very handsome white marble opera house built recently, and it's just ridiculously affordable. Like tickets start from about $8 if you're going to get a cheap seat, and there's a tremendous range of things to put on. You know, La Traviata was on when I was there. Operas in Kazakh and Russian and French. So that is surely the best thing about it. Anyway, I highly recommend Astana. It's a very livable city, perhaps not the most scintillating one. Over a year, you might find that you're running out of things to do. Cross-country skiing, I suppose. That's all for now.